I'm now joined by Marian Kitson, Director of Enforcement at DVSA, who's been here today talking about all kinds of enforcement issues at the conference. So we're just here to explore a few of those in a bit more detail.
Yep.
I'd like to dive straight at the deep end. We haven't got very long. Earned recognition.
Yes.
How is it working for you?
So it's working really well for us, actually. We've got 7%, just over 7% of the fleet in there. That's representing about 96 operators. Some of those have got multiple licenses as well. So it's about 240 licenses that are represented. It's the cornerstone of enforcement. If I can get more operators to join us in the earned recognition scheme, then that gives me and my team the assurance that actually they are meeting the standards consistently all of the time. So I then separately target them at the roadside. We mark them as blue and we don't stop them because we don't need to, unless we see something immediate that would be a road safety issue. But what we know from a road safety perspective that they are unlikely to present a risk at all, and it means then that my resources can be focused on the non-compliant. So it's really important for us.
Yes. What's the difference? What's the incentive for an operator to move from a green OCRS to blue with earned recognition? Because it's a lot more effort. What difference will they be treated with?
They really will be treated differently because we still know that although a green OCRS score is absolutely fantastic, that doesn't mean to say that everything is fine. And we do find when we stop green operators, sometimes there are problems. There are risks to road safety, whether they be mechanical risks on the vehicle or whether they be risks because the drivers are driving tired. So absolutely, we've got more assurance with earned recognition because we are getting the monthly update from the systems via the KPIs to tell us that those systems are being maintained all of the time. So it's that extra level of assurance, it's the elite nature of the scheme that makes the difference.
Yes, and would you like to see more operators join earned recognition? I mean, how hard is it to achieve those KPIs? I've heard it's pretty hard.
I'm actually not going to make it easy because it is about the integrity of this scheme is absolutely paramount for me. So we will only take people into the scheme that really meet the standards, but we'll work with anybody that's interested to achieve that.
Yes, that's great. She also said in the article that she wants you guys to go out and do more to promote the benefits of using an earned recognition operator, because she said, I don't get a penny of my rate for going through all this, the emailing and gathering the data together. So I think what she was asking for was perhaps a bit more help in raising the profile of earned recognition, because I think among the client base, they haven't really heard of it. I mean, is anything, I know you've got very limited resources, but what more can perhaps we should be doing?
So absolutely, we would love to work with the industry to promote. Leslie's been fantastic to help us to do that, and that's why I'm here at Microlise today, and that's why I focus most of my presentation on talking to this group of fantastic operators about the benefits. You know, in the poll that I did, 15% of the operators in the room said they were ready, and a significant percentage, I think it was 30 or 40%, said they felt they were nearly ready. Now, we had at least 1,200 people in the room. So think about the statistics there. If I could get 20% of the fleet into earned recognition in this next 12 months, then that will really send a message to the whole industry, I believe. And also I think it'll send a message to the businesses that we are looking to say to, actually, do you know something? If you really want a good haulage operator, look for earned recognition.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that's the message we're all trying to get out there: is use them. Use them or lose them, basically.
Yeah. So I've built my team. I've got more people on my team for earned recognition. I've got colleagues that are prepared to go up and down the country to meet up and speak to the businesses. We're ready to go. We want to work with the industry. We've got loads of contacts today.
I mean, my concern when I first heard about it, to be honest with you, was it seems to be a lot of DVSA resource going into getting earned recognition off the ground. And that's great. It has to be put in there to help the operator achieve that level. But what's going to happen if a lot of the operators in earned recognition are just falling slightly below the standard? They're still pretty compliant, but there's some intervention required. At what point do you think the resource level will go down so it actually allows you to free resource away from earned recognition to focus on the serially and seriously non-compliant, as you call them? Because there is intervention required if people drop 1% below the standard. So at what point do you think it'll be running smoothly in the background and you don't need to put any more effort into it?
And I'll be honest and say we don't know at the moment, but actually that's one of the reasons why we spent 12 months growing the scheme carefully.
Yes.
We've got the integrity of the scheme now. We understand how it works. We've had those reports, those monthly reports from those 240 licenses that are in the scheme. So we believe we understand how we administer this process now.
Yes.
And the key is swift intervention. So we might not need to do a lot. We might need to have a conversation over the phone, and then we can start to understand what's gone wrong. So that's really important for us, is to have that instant, and it's that communication. One of the benefits that I mentioned of the scheme is that opportunity to have a direct contact into DVSA.
Yes.
That's clear. So, but for me, you know, resource to cover 20% of the fleet has to be the right answer for road safety. But we will do that as efficiently and effectively as we can.
Right, okay. And when do you think we're going to see some results in terms of taking some of the really bad rogue operators off the road as a result of freeing up resource from earned recognition?
We're doing that all the time. So we're very much focusing now on that intense scrutiny of the non-compliant. So this is where my background in enforcement, I think, comes into play. I've been working in enforcement for 30 years, most of that time with HMRC, and I really understand how we identify the behaviour that we see in terms of compliance with road safety standards, and then we address that behaviour with the right level. So that means if somebody's made a bit of a mistake, we nudge them and help them to get it right.
Yes.
If they are deliberately choosing to be non-compliant, then they'll get a much more intensive support. So we've got a pilot scheme working at the moment to look at a small number of businesses in that way, and we'll build on that pilot as we get a little bit more understanding of how that works. But this is also the issue with sources of intelligence. I really want to work very carefully with those sources of intelligence, both using robotics and information technology, so that actually we really focus that intelligence on building our understanding of what's happening with those operators, when I can target them more effectively then.
But unless we're going to go to a complete police state, it's very difficult to sort of say there's never going to be another bad tipper crash, because if some operator is determined to go right under the radar, they are bloody hard to identify, aren't they?
They really are, but we want to get better at that. So I want my teams to be less predictable. So we do road safety checks in certain locations on the strategic road network, and you know, we are working with Highways England on that. Actually, what we're now looking for is more opportunities to actually be less predictable, to look at what the data tells us about when the traffic is on the roads that might provide a risk, and actually then make sure that my people are on those roads at those times. And I've got teams that work, you know, we've got coverage 24/7 across the network, not in all locations, but I can deploy. So that's what I'll be looking to do.
Yes. Are you happy with the level of resourcing you have to keep Britain's roads safe?
I think the statistics would tell you that yes, that's the case, because actually we do have some of the safest roads in Europe, and I mentioned that before. So I believe I do, but I do believe we can always do better. So we're not complacent. We want to think about using intelligence. I want to make sure that my people are deployed where the biggest risk to road safety is.
I know you're head of enforcement. Do you have a view on whether the privatisation of annual testing would be a benefit to DVSA? Because it would be, I mean, we've heard talk that traffic examiners are being pulled off, you know, inspection duties to go and fill shifts at ATFs.
That is not the case. So let me reassure you, that's not happening. I think it has happened in the past before I joined the agency, but I can absolutely assure you at the moment it's not happening. The statistics for last year with the testing shows that DVSA cancelled a tiny percentage of slots. So at the moment, you know, the Minister is telling us that he's still not confident about the ability for the industry to move towards self-testing, but he is interested in looking at that in about another year's time for earned recognition operators. So that might be another benefit for earned recognition operators in the future.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's good. The relationship you have with traffic commissioners is, you know, slightly unusual. It's a bit like the police, they're the court system. Is that relationship working? Is it fully functional? You know, we see the annual traffic commission's annual report, and sometimes they have a certain digs at the DVSA. Are you happy with that working relationship since you've been on board at DVSA?
Yeah, I mean, I have regular interaction particularly with Richard Turfitt, who was speaking today, and I believe that actually our ability to work, to understand what our separate responsibilities are. So, you know, the traffic commissioners, I completely respect their independent integrity around, you know, the areas that they look after. And actually, it's often the intelligence and the evidence that my examiners provide that support the public inquiry that the traffic commissioners will bring. But they're independent, you know, and that independence is a really important part of the function that they have. So I believe we can, a bit like road safety, I would never say that it's perfect. I think we can always improve, but what's happening really effectively is that ongoing communication. And it's not just with Richard either, it's right the way across the traffic commissioner network. I've met all of the traffic commissioners, not all of the deputies, but all of the traffic commissioners, and I really welcome the opportunity to work alongside them, but to respect our different responsibilities within the industry.
Excellent, that's fantastic.
Okay.
Marian, thank you very much for coming down. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.